Welcome back to another adventure where we search for some really cool things in our oceans. This is Reefcraft, and today we're going to be looking at part 2 of Butterflyfish species in the wild. If you missed part 1, you're welcome to go back and watch it. We covered off about 15 species of butterflyfish last time. This time we're going to be doing pretty similar, plus one extra. Butterflyfish come in a wide range of body shapes, colours and patterns. And my hope today is to potentially show you something that you've never seen. So let's start this off with the Teardrop Butterflyfish. I see these guys pretty often on shallow areas of reef or just on the edge of a drop-off. You can really tell who they are by that yellow top margin as well as the teardrop shape that's sort of smudged down the side of their body. Now these guys love algae, they love all the little invertebrates on reefs, and interestingly, you tend to find them where there's higher populations of leather corals, like Saprophytum, aka the toadstool coral, or devil's fingers and those sort of things. The next species we're going to look at is the Vagabond Butterflyfish, also known as the crisscross butterflyfish, and they get that name because of the crisscross pattern on their bodies. You'll see the diagonal lines face different ways, kind of creating a chevron pattern. These guys will actually pair up and they form an incredibly strong bond, so much so that they're actually quite aggressive towards their own kind and other pairs. And what's really interesting is they actually won't do this to other butterflyfish species, so it's pretty common to see them hanging out with others. Now, unlike vagabonds, this next one tends to be a little bit more solitary, and this is the Blackbacked Butterflyfish. I don't know what it is about this fish, but it is just one of my favorites. It's kind of got the perfect coloration and patterning in my opinion. Now, if you watch this next clip closely, you'll see it go into this soft coral, which in Fiji they call ghost corals because when you touch them, they turn white, and that's the polyps retracting away as a defense mechanism. I tend to find them in reasonably shallow areas, and I find smaller ones on the inner parts of lagoons and reefs, most typically around areas with a lot of acropora and a lot of montipora. Chaetodon citrinellus is a smaller butterflyfish species that I tend to find in a lot shallower areas. Always seem to find them in that 1 to 2 meter mark right on the edge of where the reef begins. Now their common name is a Citron butterflyfish or the Speckled Butterflyfish, and it's pretty obvious why. They have the speckly kind of body and they also kind of look like a lemon. And when I see them, I almost always see them in pairs, just like the video you're seeing now. Now, I kind of regret not getting more footage of this because I did see them quite often, but this is the Panda butterfly or the Philippine butterfly. Now, they get their name because of that large black smudge underneath its eye that kind of makes it look like a panda. I didn't get a lot of footage, but I did get footage of this big aggregation of them, and it's potentially a breeding aggregation, which is really cool to see. Look how many there are there. And here's another one I didn't film a lot of, but this is the Scrawled Butterflyfish. I did film this really interesting behavior. I don't really know what it's doing there, so if you know what it's doing, if it's aggressive towards me or something, let me know. Let's move into something a little bit different now. This is the horned bannerfish, and it's pretty obvious why. It has that little horn just above its eyes, so if you look closely at all these guys, you'll see the little horn protruding out, and it kind of looks like a little rhinoceros. Now these guys are prolific coral eaters, and I find they're pretty common across all the reefs I visit. This next one is a super popular aquarium fish, but they're also known for eating corals. This is the Klein's butterflyfish. And again, these are really common across most of the reefs in the Indo-Pacific. Something a little bit more reef safe is this long-nosed butterflyfish. Now they use that long nose to get in all the cracks and crevices of the reef. They don't tend to eat corals, but they can nip at them from time to time. And pretty cool to see 3 together like this. Next we have the pyramid butterflyfish. Now these guys always tend to be on these deep drop-offs in big groups that kind of cover the entire drop-off wall. The reason behind this is because they're actually not like other butterflyfish species. These guys actively hunt plankton. These deep drop-offs make perfect spots for plankton to absolutely bloom in these upwelling areas, and you can see a lot of them hanging off quite a fair way from the reef wall. This close up here, you can see why they're called pyramid butterflies. They have the 2 yellow bits on top of their dorsal spine that actually makes a white pyramid on their body. I added this next part in because the coloration on these two are quite different, and you can see how much darker they are. My only guess would be it's sort of a display that males do to impress the females, or potentially they're fighting over territory. If I had to pick a poster child for butterflyfish species, this would be it. This is the Racoon butterfly. Chaetodon lunula feeds predominantly on nudibranchs and other small invertebrates, but they do smash coral polyps as well, particularly soft coral species. Up next is an absolute stunner. This is the ornate butterflyfish or the clown butterflyfish. As adults, you will almost never see them by themselves. They are always in pairs, and that's because they form monogamous pairs and they breed for life, where they'll form a home range where you can reliably find them every time you go diving. On to another species of bannerfish. This is the Longfin Bannerfish. This species has that long filament coming off the top of their dorsal fin, and this is why they get called a bannerfish. A really interesting behaviour from this species is they'll actually form cleaning stations on reefs, similar to cleanerass, where they'll actually pick little parasites and other little things off the skin of anything that comes to be cleaned. Now they'll actually clean sharks, they'll clean turtles, they'll clean stingrays and all those sorts of species. And I've seen this happen. Next time you go to an aquarium, you tend to see these guys in with the big sharks. So keep an eye out and see if you can spot this awesome behaviour. Another bannerfish species is this masked bannerfish, and they kind of look like if a horned bannerfish and a longfin bannerfish had a baby, because it does display attributes of both. It has a little horn, but it also kind of has the coloration of your typical bannerfish I was just speaking about. They get to a maximum size of about 23 centimeters, and you tend to find them in shallower areas when they're small, and then like these two here, you get them in a lot deeper areas when they get big. The final bannerfish I want to cover off is the Pennant Bannerfish. Like other bannerfish, they have that long dorsal spine, but this one kind of looks a little bit more like a feather. These guys are prolific coral eaters, and I tend to find them in the shallow areas of lagoons or in the inner areas of reefs where there's a lot of SBS corals like Montipora, Acropora, and all the other types of species. If you look closely at their mouth or their beak, they actually tend to be orangey red in colour, which is super cute. Alright, this is the final species I'm going to cover off in this part. This is Xanthus cornutus, otherwise known famously as the Moorish Idol. Now I know this iconic species isn't a butterflyfish species, and they are the only representative of their genus. But they are just too cool not to add, and they also resemble butterflyfish species in a lot of ways. They have a unique diet where up to 70% of what they eat will be sponges. They also love eating inverts like coral polyps. Thanks to Finding Nemo, this fish became instantly famous, but you shouldn't really keep these in aquariums. They are very, very difficult to keep. Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoyed part 2, and I hope you got to see something or learn something you didn't know about a particular species of butterfly fish. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and drop a comment with your favourite butterfly fish and what species of coral, fish or anything else you want to see in upcoming videos. I'll do my best to put something together. Alright, catch you on the next one.